There is a story coming out of Germany that should convince every free thinker in the world that what we have been taught about our history, and especially about Antarctica, is total bunk, total BS. Now, what are you looking at on your screen? In Bavaria, in Germany, they dug up this sword from a gravesite. It dates to the Bronze Era, 3,000 years ago, and it is nearly pristine. In fact, they've described it as still having a gleam, a glint, a shine to it. Now, this was in Bavaria, the Donau-Ries region. People have been living there for thousands of years. We have history, written history, going back nearly that far, to literally the time people could even write or record history. And this sword sat there, undiscovered, pristine, in a cave until literally 5 minutes ago. Now, if that can occur in Germany, let's see if I can find the right map here. Hold on. Where are we at? Here we go. Just east of Stuttgart. Just to the east of Stuttgart in the Bavaria region called the Donau-Ries, one of the most ancient regions in the world for population. They dug this out of a cave just literally this year. Now, you'd have to ask yourself a question. How could that have occurred? Think of all of the tens, if not hundreds of millions, possibly more, people that have lived and explored and been a part of this region historically, and something like that could remain undiscovered until now. In Germany, it would be surprising enough if they found that in North America. But they're absolutely, positively sure that this continent, which is larger than the entirety of Europe, forget Germany, completely uninhabited. Nope, nobody's ever lived there. There's nothing to indicate that anyone could have ever possibly lived there. I mean, other than the fact that it was a lush rainforest for millions of years. I mean, we'll put that aside. It's absolutely bizarre. Nobody asks the question. Nobody puts it together. And you can even see the ornate work that was done on this sword. It's absolutely a beautiful specimen of bronze. The reason it's green is because it has copper in it. But real quick, before we get more into this, I want to always be diligent. I always want to be thankful and say thank you to everyone who shows up at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. To why I can continue to do videos like this is because people say, you know what, it's worth $1 a month to me. It's worth 3 pennies a month. It's even less if you sign up for an entire year, fully refundable. First 90 days, we got folks at the $1 level, folks at the $5 level. We got a lot to talk about. In the next week or two, we're going to be putting up a lot more videos over there because things are just getting to that point now where you can't hardly say anything controversial anyway on this platform, or even show images on this platform. But there's going to be a day coming. There's going to be a day coming when people are going to begin to explore Antarctica. And maybe they'll see something like this over to the left. What looks like maybe the remnants of an old house. They won't know for sure because it'll be so far back in the wastelands. Or maybe they'll encounter something like this. You see, it doesn't have to be some gleaming, shining sword, bronze sword dug up from a grave. All you would need to find would be something like this. A simple staircase in a region that hadn't been populated by modern people. And that would entirely rewrite what we think we know. Now, there's a bigger message that I'm trying to send today with this video because it has something to do with what's in the headlines right now about AI and the big fear of AI and why we shouldn't be afraid of it. This sword being dug up in Bavaria, I don't think any AI would have said, well, what are the chances of there being something like this sitting there pristine? Pardon me. I mean, how many archaeological expeditions have looked through the countryside of Germany over the decades, over the centuries? You know, artists have been creating renderings like this, you know, and that would be an incredible find. tucked away in some corner of some cavern somewhere to find evidence like this of a lost civilization. But archaeologists, this is from the Trump News Network. Oh, no, wait, it's not the Trump. It's Charlie, no, November. Yeah. Trump loves this network, though. He does live appearances here. Archaeologists find a 3,000-year-old sword so well preserved it's still gleaming. We don't normally report from Charlie, November, but, since Trump thinks it isn't fake news anymore, I guess we should just continue to report what they say. Still gleaming. Archaeologists have found an octagonal sword dating from more than 3,000 years ago at a burial site in the state of Bavaria, southern Germany. The sword is so well preserved that it still gleams, according to a statement from the Bavarian State Office for the Preservation of Monuments. Discovered last week at a site in Donau-Ries, and researchers believe it was left in the grave as a burial gift. The sword is thought to date to the end of the 14th century BC, Middle Bronze Age. A sword like this, with an octagonal handle made entirely from bronze, is a rare find. According to the statement, the sword and the burial still have to be examined so that our archaeologists can classify this excavation more precisely, said Professor Matthias, head of Bavarian State, blah, blah, blah. They believe it was a real sword. The center of gravity in the front part of the blade indicates that it was balanced mainly for slashing. It was buried with a family. This is how long it's been sitting there now. I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute, hold on, Mucky, wait a minute. Please don't start talking about these dumb games. I don't want to hear about... Stick with me. It has to do with AI. You're going to want to hear this. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this franchise. It has been around, basically since there's been online computer access. It's called World of Warcraft. It's just the European-centric game set in this fictitious European-ish setting where you've got... lords and ladies, and, you ride on horseback and you have swords and you can be a hunter or a warrior or a druid or something like this. And you can go and create your own life. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that the game, and I'll be very honest, I gave it a shot. A lot of people did. The game is insanely complex. It was complex when they rolled it out way back in, what would have been, 8, 9? Somebody out there, I'm sure I've got some experts out there that can help me. The level of complexity of this game actually puts a lot of people off of it. And that was when it first started. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, earlier today, we got a visit from the Patriot Nurse on YouTube, and she talked about getting her master's in herbalism. And I thought about this for a minute, and I'm like, herbalism? Master herbalism. You see, in the game, not only do you have to choose your own race, there's, I think, 23 of them now, 24 of them. You have to choose your class, and there's over a dozen, and not everybody can be everything. You also have to choose 2 professions. Now, there's 4 that everybody has. Everybody's an archaeologist. Everybody knows first aid, cooking, and fishing. But based on what you are, you have to choose 2 of the others. And usually, herbalism goes along with alchemy. And it's just what brought it up. Now, to go through every permutation of what class you are and whether you're Horde or whether you're Alliance or whether you're any one of these. See if I can name all these off from memory. Void Elf, Human, Night Elf, Pandarin, Undead, Worgen, Gnome, Orc, Goblin. See, I thought that was Night Elf too. I know that's a demon. Anyway, Worgen, Blood Elf, Koltiran Human, Troll, Dwarf, and I think this is something called a Volpera. They're little fox people. Anyway, to go through every permutation would be more than what your lifetime could do. It's that complicated. It's that intensive a game. And on top of that, then you've got to get all of your armor and your rings and your trinkets and everything. It's just an insane way to kill an entire life. Now, here's what it has to do with. Despite the hype, artificial intelligence remains inferior to the human brain. With new alarming predictions being made every week, it is important to explore the limitations of AI. The human brain provides the best reference point. Now, what does this have to do with Antarctica or that? Well, a true AI, a true artificial intelligence, if you were trying to program it with all of the knowledge of man, what we know so far, I think the first thing any basic AI would say, wait a minute, wait. You're telling me you created an artificial intelligence before you explored your own planet? No, seriously. You have 3/4 of your planet covered in oceans, and then you have an entire continent that you've explored maybe 3% of, and you're creating an artificial intelligence to help you figure out life. But tell you what, why don't you figure out your own home first? The home you live in. Imagine living in a home that had 7 rooms in it. 7 rooms. And then when you went to bed at night, you'd hear these strange noises. And you'd see these strange things sometimes flying around. You didn't know what they were. So you just assumed they came from some other house. So you tried to board up all the windows and you locked all the doors, and yet they were still there. And you couldn't figure it out. But there was one room in the house that, you had cracked the door about an inch and looked inside, but you hadn't actually gone in and looked and see what was going on in that room. But you were sure, you told everybody else that lived in the house that, no, there's nothing in that room. We only opened the door about a fraction of an inch here and kind of peeked in and saw, but we're absolutely sure that the things we're seeing in our skies or in, running around, it couldn't possibly be from here. I think an AI would look at us like, you're not even ready for AI yet. A true AI, a true artificial intelligence would say, when you have all the information from the oceans, when you have all the information from Antarctica, program that into me, and then I'll figure it out. And to put the icing on the cake, you would think World of Warcraft would be as complicated as it is, one thing. It isn't. Every few years, they shake the whole thing up and turn it upside down and see what falls out. And they do what they call a new expansion. And then you've got to relearn everything all over again. And they've done this one, let's see, there was the initial one, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This will be the 9th time they've done it, and it's 2023. So I'm not exactly sure how long Vanilla WoW was going on, but anyway, Vanilla WoW being the first iteration of it. So, at least a decade. At least 10 years this has been going on. And it's free. That's why so many people play it. It's free up to level 20. Now, if you want to, be the absolute insane nut jobs that play this thing out to level 80, 90, or 100 or whatever, you'll lose your life. Basically, you won't have any other life. But this was all created by normal intelligence. And it's so unbelievably complicated. Nobody could go through every character, every permutation in their life. They couldn't do it. Even if they were a shut-in, you couldn't do it. So, anyway, and you still hear stories like this. Gigantic mountains inside Earth mystify scientists. There's an ocean beneath our surface water that's 4 times as big as the water that's on the surface of the planet. You see, we don't even know, and I guess this is the point. I suppose using a sword is a kind of a interesting way to show the point. We don't even know what we don't know about the planet yet, about where we live, or the back of the turtle, whatever you want to call it. We don't even know what we don't know. See, it doesn't matter whether you believe in the globe earth or the flat earth. We haven't even explored either one. You want to call it the Great Ice Ring? Not explored. Not even in the least. The oceans? They guess. Even they were talking about MH370 and where it went down and where it impacted the water and how it's so deep that they hadn't even mapped it yet. 2023, and with all of the giant, huge clouds of satellites that we have overhead, still can't see through water. Still can't see through ice. And it shouldn't surprise anyone that in a place like Bavaria, Swabia, that they could find this pristine, beautiful 3,000-year-old sword just chilling there in a cave. They didn't have to dig 500 feet down to find it. It was just a few feet below the surface. If that's the case in Germany, just imagine. Just imagine what might be waiting on an entire continent that's bigger than all of Europe. I'll leave it there. God bless. Have a great week. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.